Some neighbors are annoying. Some neighbors are controlling. But on Elmwood Lane, there was Karen. She didn't just want peace and quiet. She wanted power. She wanted obedience. And she thought the HOA gave her the right to control every single family. But one day, she chose the wrong family. And by the end, she wouldn't just lose her power, she'd lose everything. Karen wasn't elected. No one voted her in. She was the self-appointed HOA president because no one else wanted the job. But she wore that title like she was mayor, sheriff, and judge all rolled into one. Every morning, she sat on her porch with coffee and binoculars. Every afternoon, she prowled the streets with her clipboard, peeking into yards, writing notes, whispering judgments. Every night, she patrolled with a flashlight, searching for violations. Her victims? Everyone. The Johnson kids got fined for leaving chalk drawings on the sidewalk. The Millers were screamed at because their Halloween pumpkin rotted too slowly. The elderly Parkers? She banned their bird feeder, said it attracted pests. Even Mr. Daniels, a quiet widower who kept to himself, was fined for keeping his porch light too dim. And the Lopez family, who hung a string of fairy lights in their backyard, got a threatening letter. "This is not Disneyland. Remove immediately." The street lived in fear. People whispered, cursed under their breath, but no one dared to fight her. Not yet. Then came the Garcias. A firefighter, a nurse, 3 bright, cheerful kids. They painted their house a warm, inviting blue. They built a trampoline. They hosted a block barbecue. The whole street loved them. Everyone, except Karen. She stormed over, waving her clipboard like a weapon. "This blue is not approved." Mrs. Garcia smiled politely. "We checked the bylaws. It's listed under neutral tones." Karen snapped back. "Neutral? This is blinding. Everything should be beige. Beige is peace." She fined them anyway. $500 for the paint, $300 for the trampoline, $200 for noise disturbances because the kids laughed too loudly. The Garcias paid 1 fine to avoid drama, but that's when Karen smelled weakness. And once Karen had a taste, she never stopped. Within weeks, her tyranny grew bolder. She called the cops on teenagers selling lemonade. She left notes because garbage bins were 2 inches off the curb. She threatened to remove a neighbor's dog for barking during mail delivery. She even stalked neighbors at the grocery store, reminding them their hedges were 0.5 inches too high. Her rants became legendary. Standing in the middle of the cul-de-sac shouting, "You people don't understand. Without rules, there's chaos, and I will not allow chaos on Elmwood Lane." But Karen's fatal mistake wasn't targeting one family. It was targeting everyone. At the Garcia's next barbecue, something unexpected happened. The whole block showed up. And for the first time, they shared their Karen stories out loud. One by one, they realized they weren't alone. They weren't weak. And together, they had power. "Remember when she fined me for planting tulips?" Mrs. Miller said. "She told me my American flag was too large," muttered Mr. Daniels. "She made me cry," whispered Mrs. Parker, her hands trembling. The Garcias looked around the circle. Karen had united the street, just not in the way she wanted. If Karen loved rules so much, the neighbors would use her own rules against her. For weeks, they became her. They photographed her cracked, rotting fence. They logged her weeds growing taller than flowers. They measured her mailbox, wrong paint color. They noted her garbage bins, left out for 3 days. They even spotted the forbidden garden gnome in her yard. The Parkers, yes, the elderly couple, filmed her screaming at a delivery driver. Mr. Daniels caught her double parking her car across the sidewalk. The Lopez kids secretly filmed her yelling at the mailman for being 2 minutes late. Evidence piled up, and when the neighbors sent it all to the state HOA board, Karen had no idea what was coming. At the next HOA meeting, Karen stormed in, clipboard, anger, another $1,000 fine against the Garcias. But before she could finish, a man in a suit stood up. "Excuse me, I'm here from the State Compliance Board. We need to talk about your property, Mrs. Karen." The silence was heavy. He pulled out the photos, the logs, the videos. Every violation she accused others of, she was guilty of herself. Her face turned crimson. She shouted, "This is harassment! They're ganging up on me!" The inspector shook his head. "No, ma'am. These are your rules. Written, approved, enforced by you." The fine? Over $15,000. Her presidency? Immediately revoked. The neighbors? Cheering, whispering, laughing. For the first time, Karen wasn't in control. But she wasn't finished. Karen appealed the fines. She even sued the Garcias for emotional distress. But in court, her history came crashing down. False police reports, neighbor complaints, harassment logs. The judge slammed the gavel. Case dismissed, with prejudice, and then added more penalties. Within months, Karen's house went up for sale. But when buyers Googled her name, all they saw were HOA horror stories, angry reviews, even memes. Karen of Elmwood Lane became a viral joke. Videos of her rants spread online. Teenagers drove by her house just to film TikToks. "Shh, don't wake the HOA dragon." Her reputation poisoned her future. At auction, the Garcias bought her house for half its value. And in her old backyard, they threw the biggest block party Elmwood Lane had ever seen. Glasses clinked, music thumped, children laughed freely. No fines, no fear. To Karen, they toasted. May karma keep her busy wherever she goes next. And so, the woman who thought she owned the street lost it all. Because control, it's just an illusion. But karma is very real. And on Elmwood Lane, nobody will ever forget the fall of Karen. Ooh, and if you thought this was wild, wait until you hear what happened to the next Karen. This is Karen Karma, where Karens get exactly what they deserve. Subscribe, because karma always comes back around.